All right, we're live. Pre-show. Finally got the link done. What a dope! I went to go live and I hit done. That's why we are in the position we are today.
Done.
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 But hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to the pre-show, the Weather Soul podcast. Some of you who are tuning in early uh, do know what's going on today, and some of you don't know what's going on today. So I will tune you in on what's happening today. And what's happening today is that this is the Weathered Souls podcast, last YouTube video, last everything for a while.
Actually,
Yeah, till the next time we see each other. But we're gonna send the 50th show off in celebratory mode. We'll be talking about some past issues that we've talked about before. Go through a couple of the episodes that we have done, and we're not going away. We're just gonna kick back and take a whole bunch of time off until number one, we can get rid of this cold studio. Number two, try to find some marketing schemes and things like that to better ourselves, to get ourselves out there, to get the word out. So I mean, I've seen our listenership drop off substantially since the unfortunate death of my son, Anthony, and it was a cardinal sin, and that's just the way it is in radio and podcasting. You start missing shows and stuff, and then listenership drops off. I mean, we had a pretty healthy audience there, and we just haven't been able to get the numbers back where they need to be to where this is not a love anymore. It's just work, and that's where we're at. So I mean, it's one of those things that I gave when I first started this show. I gave it a 50 show mark, and that's where I was going to be. I wanted to see where we're going to be, see what it was going to be like to have a podcast, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a great time, and not to saying that I didn't have some good co-hosts like Doug, who's been, you know, my co-host for the longest. And we've had some great guests, and we've had some great times. We've
yeah.
had some great laughs and cries and all kinds of
Well, we
things.
discussed a lot of pertinent, topics, things that were happening at the time, and things that concern us.
Yeah, and we've tried different things throughout the last 2 years. We did 50 shows. We started the first show. I started the first show back in November of 2018, and I tried a couple of different things, and some were a success, and then I just didn't do them, and then some were flops, and I probably continued to do them, and we are where we're at today. And like I said, the numbers in the past couple of shows have just not been substantial enough. Uh, um, I got some gripes. I mean, there's a couple of things that I would love our listeners to do, and number one, send us comments. There's a couple of people that send us comments. Ratings were important. We never did get one rating off of any of our people that distributed our podcast, and those things kind of hurt a podcast. I mean, you kind of need your audience to comment and rate you on the different platforms that you're distributed on. Um, Actually, I think YouTube has been the best platform that we've done. I mean, our our
Oh yeah,
live
yeah.
our live podcasts have actually got more of an audience than the audio podcast. Now, is that good or bad? Do I like the YouTube format? It's okay, but I think I would rather have a venue to do a video and stuff like that. It's nice just to be in front of the camera, in front of a background and stuff, and just talk all day. But I would like it to be just a little bit more polished and a little bit more professional with an engineer that knows what he's doing, panning in
Yeah.
and out, having some video backup and some graphics and stuff like that. And those are the things that we lack in the YouTube broadcast. But there's no doubt in my mind that I do like the platform.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, the tough part is trying to. There they go. Look, they already shut off the power.
it would it would have never been the Real Weather Show podcast if I did not turn on the studio lights. So give me just a second.
The toughest part for me has been trying to figure out exactly what topics people want to listen to. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. People have a lot of opinions. Personally, I can talk about anything. I've got no problem if it's something that I'm not familiar with, I can look up a few facts and stuff like that. If it's something I am familiar with, I'd love to talk about it. If it's just an opinion, it's just an opinion. Uh, but that was one of the toughest things was trying to hit what was important at the time. We did a lot of different formats, right? We went to sort of a local events section. We had a current events section. We had national news section. Um, had an opinion section. You know, not sure what people like the best.
Right, and I think one of the things that, I tried to make it what I tried not to make it is I really tried not to make it a current events thing. I mean, I talked a lot about, current events, but I really wanted the podcast to kinda lean towards, you can get the current events and you can get the hyperbole from a lot of people, and basically, I have my hyperbole, and Doug has his hyperbole, Eddie had his, so did Tom, and my guests also had the hyperbole too. So I mean, you can tune in to almost any podcast and get that emotional jolt of the news that you really want to listen to. So when I want to listen to, let's just take for instance, when I want to listen to the emotional jolt and hyperbole of what's going on during the day, I'll just turn on Rush Limbaugh. Or
You
I'll
sure
turn on
that's not parable?
or I'll turn on, Jimmy Dore, or I'll turn on, Jimmy Dore, who's my favorite podcast, or I'll turn on, Dan Bongino. I mean, if you wanna hear the hyperbole and you wanna get all whipped up in your certain political realm, I mean, you can find any podcast or you can find any radio show and get that, and I think what I wanted to do is kinda steer away from that, but I always seem to gravitate towards it, so and, also, I wanted the podcast to actually have a local flavor with what's going on here instead of what's going on around us, because I think, like I said, I think you can get enough information from all the freaking sources of what's going on nationally, but, very few people can, find out what's going on locally.
Right. There is not a lot of media coverage of you know things that go on every day. You get the newspaper. The San Jose newspaper has only major things that happen in Gilroy, and the local paper has a lot of fluff about school stuff and things like that. It's not doesn't really tell you what's going on in the works of the town.
You're right, and it's a lot of fluff. And I was gonna actually just, start the podcast now, but we've been going for about 15 minutes now, so we're just gonna go and we're just gonna welcome everybody here again to the Weathered Soil Podcast, brought to you by First Note Productions Studios in Gilroy, California. And I want to thank you guys for being here again. And you can get us on Anchor FM, and unfortunately, this is our last podcast. Like I told Duck before, we're going to hit 50. We're going to find out where we were, and then I was going to judge on whether we're going to keep the podcast going. Unfortunately, I don't think that the numbers are where they should be, so we are going to take a hiatus. There's a bunch of things that I've been saying for 2 years now that I want to get done. I need to build this studio. I need to have a more professional, polished type podcast going on. Doug's always going to be my co-host. So next time you hear us, we're not going to be the Weathered Soul Podcast. We're going to be something else. But Dougie will be here with me.
Same person.
The same, same guy.
Yeah.
Same guy. And I really enjoyed having these debates and these discussions. We had some great guests, and we had some great shows, had some great topics. We had some tragedy, we had some victories, and unfortunately, we just didn't get I didn't get the feedback that I wanted from the podcast, and that's just kind of where I'm at. I mean, it was an experiment, and it was a love, and now it's kind of getting into a work, and if I'm gonna do any work, we're I'm always gonna love to podcast. I'm always gonna love to talk, but I need to do this work. I need to do this studio work. When we come back and you see this, when you see us come back as a different podcast, you're going to see a different look. You're going to see a different studio. You're going to see graphics. You're going to see other videos and other sound bites and stuff like that, which we don't have right now because we don't have an engineer. It's just me and Doug here. I've got the mixer right here, the computer right here, and I need other people and I need other sources, and we're just gonna, we're not coming back until we have that.
Right on.
And we won't be coming back as Weathered Soul podcast. I've got a direction that the Weathered Soul is going to go in, and it's always going to be a trademark of First Note Productions, and it's going to morph into what I wanted it to morph into to begin with, and product line and stuff like that. So as far as the Debt Crusher is concerned, we will probably continue the Debt Crusher. We won't be giving it to you tonight, but we will be formatting that into an audio situation, maybe a video situation. I'm not sure yet, but definitely an audio situation where me and Doug will sit back and we will do an episode, maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 weeks or something like that, and talk about debt crushing and get these people going on getting out of debt. And I've also got another podcast that I'm definitely going to do that's just going to be audio only, and it's going to be about excuse me, about supporting people who have lost children and to death, like my son Anthony. And so you can be looking forward to that. That'll be coming back on Anchor.fm. But for the most part, I really enjoyed having Doug as my co-host, and I enjoy having these talks with him every Thursday. Some of them have been heated, a lot of them have been laughing, and me and Doug have two different opinions because we're from relatively the same political views, but radically different political views.
Even if we
And
have the same
and even
opinion,
if
I'm
we
going to air a different one than yours. It's my
exactly,
job.
'cause that's what he says is his job, but but
Speaking of which, we got a lot of things we'd like to cover, don't we?
oh, we got all kinds of things we'd like to cover. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that you have a lot to talk about, and I'm going to kind of hand it over and let Dougie kind of run the show tonight because
Holy cow.
he has got a lot of stuff to say. We had a spirited talk before we turned on the mics, and and Dougie's never at a loss for words. And
Did we ever touch whatever happened to Facebook?
we didn't touch what happened
we
to
gotta do
Facebook,
that
and I
one.
think that was one of our demises too. I mean, that as far as it's concerned for the people I was actually trying to reach out to, I believe I destroyed myself. And I think I destroyed
Because
myself with my over the top political opinions, and I'll tell you the number one thing that probably destroyed myself on Facebook, and that is my undying support for the president of the United States. And that doesn't just mean Donald Trump. That means since I was a little kid, I've always supported the office of the president of the United States, not necessarily the person, but the office. I've always respected the office. I've always respected the House of Representatives, the Senate. I've always respected the Supreme Court. I've always respected government, but I've learned over the years that you can't trust them, and my respect wanes. However, in the same token, or in the same breath of what I'm saying, sometimes when you get into the situation that we're in at this current situation now, I still have plenty of over the top situations that I think are just crap.
yeah. Well, my point is that Facebook isn't the forum for that.
Absolutely not.
I mean, these are my notes, okay?
Go ahead.
Facebook, whose face or face what? I mean, really, is it are we looking at someone's face or are we looking at facing something? I mean, really, what's going on here? It sounds like it's supposed to be a book full of faces, right? I don't know, I mean, like a phone book of faces.
Still
And it started out as such a cute little way, like, oh gee, reunite with friends from high school and the old church group and blah 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 blah. And all of a sudden, it's like, I start going through and you start seeing these hate pages. I mean, just stuff like who wants to kill Doug, I mean, or whatever.
I had a page that was what was it? Get the Buck Out.
Yeah.
Get the Buck Out was Joe Buck. It was a
Yeah.
Joe Buck hate page.
Yeah. So where does that crap
Or
come
no, it
from?
was Shut the Buck Up. That's what it
Yeah,
was. Shut the Buck Up.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
this all started back in probably the late '90s when I discovered myself was MySpace was big back in the
Yeah, I never touched that.
back in the just like '97 going forward.
When the internet used to come on 2 wires.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right, and, I remember MySpace and Tom was your first friend, and he was the founder of or whatever he was. Tom was your first friend. He was that guy,
Regardless, whether you
regardless.
liked him or not.
Whether you liked him or not, Tom was your friend, you would start a MySpace page, was very, very archaic to the way that Facebook looks today, but very much it acted the same. I mean, there was a couple more steps to do what you needed to do. But there was always this mystique of what could happen with MySpace, and it did, where MySpace was an unregulated space. It was the Wild West. I mean, you could find anything on MySpace. And I think
Yeah.
and to this day, I mean, you can find anything you want on the internet. I mean,
Well, yeah, yeah.
and I think what happened with I'm not sure what happened with MySpace, but I know that Time Warner bought them, and then Time Warner actually kind of morphed into a music entertainment
Right,
entertainer
right.
type of landing page for bands and stuff like that, which is hardly used. I mean, you can go to MySpace still; it's still there, but you can't find a lot of use for it. And then came Facebook, and I heard about
Right.
Facebook in the late '90s, and I read it. I read something in the paper about it, and I got you know, I got curious, and boom, 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 I'd go in and I'd check it out, and there it was, Facebook. And I signed up for my first Facebook page. Probably not too long after it first started.
I think it was like 2008 or 9 for me.
I don't remember when it was, but all I remember is that I signed up for it and then I forgot about it. I never even touched it. I had other things going on, other things to do. And then all of a sudden this Facebook just started rolling in and marching, and all of a sudden my friends were asking me if I'm on Facebook or this or that. So I actually got a Facebook page,
Yeah.
and people were posting puppy dogs and cats and food. That's what it was when I first got there.
Yeah, 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 pictures of the kids and, whatever. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, um, I'll tell you what got me off of it, all right, was, too many friends, relatives, acquaintances, friends of friends, co-friends of friends, friends twice removed of friends, whatever, would start, do they start posting, whatever, um, a lot of like, nasty political stuff. It's like, first of all, um, I think I have a very, very low opinion of people who stoop to like calling names and stuff. One of the things that we're going through right now in our political history is the Cartman defense. But ma, he made me do it. He didn't give me his ice cream cone, so I had to steal it. Sorry. But anyway, we won't go there right now. We can do that later. Yeah, so I mean, if you use if Facebook was used correctly, someone who wanted to give op-eds would go ahead and either get a new email account or use their email account. Of course, you can only have e- one Facebook slot per email,
Right.
so you might have to get another email account or
Wasn't
something.
like YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. Or if you want to start a page, you can do it with your own email, but it's a separate page than your
Correct.
and it's a specifically named page, not a person.
Mm,
I did that. I did a page called "I'd Just Like to Say This,"
mhm.
and it was a page where and this was my idea. I mean, this was I haven't been on Facebook in 7 years, but so 8 years ago, my idea was, okay, I don't want to see this shit on my page. So if you want to say something like this, go say it on this page.
Mhm.
and it started to work until people started getting too vile on that page, and then people started, like, getting off the page because, like, I don't want to hear people talking like that.
Mhm.
So I just left everything alone. I don't know what's happened to it since.
It definitely took the freedom of speech to a new level, that a new level of, what do I wanna say? I don't wanna say it was of immorality. Immorality, I wanna say, because it used to be when you were in a crowded, there was very few people that would speak out their true feelings in a crowded room. And now you've
Right.
got
Right.
Facebook where you're behind the screen and
Yeah.
you're not face to
Right.
face, and then you can say anything you want,
Yeah.
you know?
Pussy.
Political, yeah, let's see, political, religious,
Yeah.
racial,
Right.
whatever. And
And you know what a lot of people don't understand is when you're typing something that someone else is going to read, it is really, really hard to put it in a way that they will be sure not to misinterpret it.
oh,
It's real. I mean, you almost have to write in like legalese.
I have been, admittedly misinterpreted very, very, very many times.
Right, right.
I guess I there's a way that I speak and there's a way that I write, and I believe that they're the same, although some people say that it's not, that I come across, obtuse, I come across crass, I come across as uneducated, but I think that, on the other realm, the people who like my comments and those people who like my writings and my opinions, think that I write beautifully and eloquently. So, I mean, I've had both the spectrums, and unfortunately, those spectrums were divided, down a spiritual way and a political way, which, and to me, the political and the spiritual religious realm are one and the same these days, because politics has all of a sudden become this freaking all encompassing religion. It is, if you're not for us, you're all against us. So, but I've learned within that, I'm still kind of suffering from this cold, but we just got the cough left. Anyway, um, um, uh, during the time that I've been on MySpace and Facebook, I had taken my political and my religious beliefs and not kind of thrown them away. I had a spat with the church, but that's been my ongoing thing forever. But my political, life has changed, since I've been on Facebook, and I used to think that I was, uh, pretty liberal. I think I still am pretty liberal. I believe in a lot of liberal ideas. I also believe in a lot of conservative ideas, but I also believe in absolute freedom. Um, um, kind of ashamedly constitutional, even though the fact of there's not one, document that we've ever lived under that's been the perfect document. And I think a lot of people get, kind of driven in different ways. You know, some people, some Republicans are and some Democrats are just pure constitutionalists. You know, they still get along. You know, that Republican and Democrat bipartisanship still exists somewhere in the realm of politics, but otherwise it's split and there's a great big divide. This is all due to social media. I mean, we could talk about.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm seeing where your point is going here. It's when you and I were in high school, we had a few news sources. We had the newspaper, and we had a couple of network news stations
Mhm,
and PBS.
yeah,
Um, Now there's a million outlets,
right.
and one of my points here is that, you know, no one filters out the bullshit, and people will believe what they want to believe. If it if my opinion coincides with your feelings, you're going to believe what I say
Yes,
about it,
yeah,
whether I'm right or not.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, I could be selling you a nice cream
right,
maker to an
right,
Eskimo.
and you're
If
going
I'm
to,
doing the
yeah,
sale right, you're going to
yeah,
believe me.
yeah, you go to Taco Bell because you like Taco Bell, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
you're gonna go to Fox if you like Fox. You're gonna go to CNN if you
Yeah,
like CNN. You're gonna go to MSNBC if they're feeding you
right.
what you wanna hear. Of course, that's where you're gonna congregate
You
at.
know what really sucks lately? This is aside, but lately it doesn't matter where I go, I get a stomach ache. It doesn't matter where I go. I can't find news that I like anywhere.
And I think that's where a lot of people are getting to with with the current events that are going on in social media, in the news, in the world. I think everybody's kinda getting fed up. I think we're really I heard it this way: we're coming into a renaissance, and we're coming into a renaissance where we're getting back to where I know how you feel, and you
Yeah,
know how I feel,
yeah.
and we both feel the same way, differently about each other's opposite opinions, but together we go like, "This is all bullshit, and we want it to stop,"
Yeah, yeah.
and we're ready to throw all of them out. I'm ready to throw I'm ready to throw them all out, and I get the crap from everybody. It's just, "Well, my side's as pure as the driven snow." Your side is not pure as the driven snow, and neither is my side, and neither is my center is not pure as the driven snow. I
No.
want all the bastards out because it took a long time for us to get all these bastards in, believe me. If you've ever put on a bunch of weight or got a bunch of debt, you did that over a long time,
Yeah.
and it's gonna take a long time to
To
get
lose,
yourself
yeah.
skinny,
If you wanna do it right.
if you wanna do it right, and it's gonna take us a long time to revert ourselves back
Yeah.
from, I don't wanna say pre-social media, but what I wanna say is from where we started to where we got to. It's
Yeah.
not gonna happen with one president, it's not gonna happen with the change of president, it's not gonna happen with the change of Congress or a change of the structure of the Supreme Court. It's gotta come from people. It's gotta come from the realization that the people are actually sick of the crap, and I think we're gonna be running into, and it's exciting, I really think it's exciting that we're going to come into a renaissance where there's going to be more people that are more pissed off and more fed up with the crap than there is this division between far left and far right.
How come nobody complains about what California did with legalized marijuana on
I
Facebook?
don't know. God dang it. But that's a great segue.
Holy
Take it
cow.
away, Dougie, because I hear about this every week.
Well, we all know the situation, um, every state that's legalized marijuana has been claiming this fantastic tax boom, blah, 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 blah. But, I don't know how many people from California have gone to other states to see how their systems work. You know, in Colorado, pot stores are like liquor stores. There's one for every block. I mean, you don't have to go far to find them. And you go and you show your ID that you're over 21, you buy what you want, and it's not incredibly expensive. It's certainly not it's certainly not double of what you can buy it on the black market for. I mean, that is ridiculously stupid. Now, I don't know who's making all the money. Is it the owners of the collectives that are, buying the product incredibly cheap and selling it for a high price and then charging a high tax on it? Is it the cultivators? I mean, I don't know how much, like, a collective or a distributor, whatever, the medical marijuana dispensaries that are now just called dispensaries, buy their product for. But I know that it's got to be tested. I don't know where that liability is. That on the grower? Is that on the seller? But and the testing in this state is incredibly impossible. There's not enough laboratories. There's a huge backlog. They charge a lot of money. It's like, what is going on?
Being an avid marijuana user since I was a teenager, I would have to say this about that. Even though I was always for legalization or decriminalization. I don't want to say legalization because there's plenty of things that I do not want legalized, but I would like a lot of things being decriminalized.
What kind of libertarian are you?
And one of them was, and one of them is marijuana, and another one would be prostitution. I mean, there's all kinds of these. I want to say non-victimless crimes that 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 need to be decriminalized, because once they get legalized, what happens is what's happening in California. It's amazing to me that the liberal aspect of California, the way that this is handled in Sacramento, is such that they might as well be Puritans, because all they're doing is they've taxed their way back into a black market,
Right,
is exactly what they've done.
right.
And and
They've
and
enhanced the black market.
they've
Yeah,
enhanced the black market.
because
They've
it's
done
easy.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah, it's easier to transport it and possess it now. You don't know where it came from.
exactly. But in that same breath, what's going on is that this was all a power play for the big pharma, for the big, number one, big pharma, number two, the big the big farmers, the big agriculture.
Right.
I mean, this was all drawn up for this, and every time that they came in and they talked about legalization, I voted against it.
Well, I voted against what they proposed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
voted against it. So when they came up with legal, even this last election, I voted against it because I knew where this was going.
Well, this last one made it no worse than it was for legal marijuana.
You need to go.
Basically, what they did is they just opened the doors of the legal marijuana dispensaries to everybody. The prices and everything else stayed the same.
Yeah, you need to go no farther than to go up there to Mendocino, and up there, up north, and find out what legalized marijuana did to the small farmer, because that was their bread and butter for a long time. When they did the medical marijuana, the small farmer was doing pretty freaking well. Now that they legalized marijuana, now the bigger farmers have pushed the small farmers out. Now you can call free market all it is, but believe me that the big farmers, the big farm corporations push those little people out. And they push those little people out by making these little regulations and taxes on their stuff that they could not make a profit on their small
Right, right,
quantity.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's the situation that we're in. So you can, argue that the free market doesn't work in that situation, but the problem is that not that the free market didn't work in that situation. The the marijuana laws.
Listen, I know people that try to make a living like that.
Yeah,
Just grow like, 2 pounds a month hydroponically,
yeah.
and then sell it to a collective. At the beginning,
At the
at
beginning,
the
it
very
worked,
beginning, it was like $7,000 a pound.
but at the beginning,
Now,
it
now I
worked.
don't know what it is. 1,000,
It's yeah, maybe a
a
thousand.
thousand a pound, and they're
Yeah,
selling it, and they're selling it for like what 6,500 a pound. If you go at their $400 an ounce plus tax prices.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy what they've done to it, and I think it just has to do with money changing hands in the upper echelons of government that make this work for larger corporations that have the money to bust out the little guy, and it's the Walmart effect.
Yeah.
It's the Amazon effect.
Well, w- listen, when I was in 8th grade, I can remember talking with a friend of mine. Okay, and we're saying that um, pot would probably it was 8th grade. Yeah, I think it's 8th grade. Um, maybe somewhere between eighth and ninth. Pot would be legalized by the time we were 35. Well, I'm 58 now.
Yeah, well, 58 finally happened.
Yeah, and it didn't even really happen. But um, what my big concern was like you said, um, you know, not big farming, big tobacco,
Big tobacco.
because they already have all the mechanisms in place.
Absolutely.
They have the processing, packaging, and distribution already set.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what they do is they'll undercut the small grower, and then the bigger grower will set the price, and the smaller grower is going to suffer under that. I mean, he still gets to sell his pot to whoever it is, but he's going to get the price or undercut on the price that the bigger grower is getting. So,
Right. And another thing too is what's strange is when you go to a liquor store, you buy a bottle of booze,
mhm,
there's a lot of tax in that price. It's built into the price.
mhm,
When you go buy cigarettes, it's built into the price,
yes,
right? It's not. They're not saying it's $3.95 for a pack of cigarettes and $7 tax,
right.
right?
Well,
It's $10 for the pack of cigarettes plus 9 cents tax.
well, remember, I was paying when Anthony was doing his CBT therapy. We were paying for 0.5 milliliter bottle, a real small bottle of CBDs that he was taking. It was $40 a bottle, and I would buy him 4 bottles, which was $160 for 4 bottles.
Plus 40% tax.
Plus, it would cost me $198 to get out the door for $160 worth of CBD oil.
Yeah.
That's freaking highway robbery.
Right. Right. Or why isn't it built into the price? Right? Why isn't the price $50 a bottle? And then 9% sales tax.
Well, that's basically what they do. I mean, it's
Right, no,
actually
it should be priced that way though. If
well, I
that's
know
what
it
they're
should be
gonna
priced,
do.
but a lot of people
That's
do
what they
price
do
it
with
but
cigarettes.
that's
That's what they do with liquor.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
because it's a separate VAT tax or
Right.
whatever you want to call it. I mean,
And speaking of which, I can buy booze, I can buy vapes, I can buy cigarettes anywhere.
yes,
Anywhere.
yes,
You go into the Taco Bell and they're freaking selling vapes. You
right.
know?
You're
Why
selling beer.
yeah, why can't you get a pack of joints?
Yeah. Why can't you get it? I agree. I agree with you totally. But
So really, what is this crap?
why can't we have a marijuana dispensary here in Gilroy?
Exactly.
Okay.
What is the
I
problem?
know why. Because it was a 7-0 freaking unanimous decision that they thought that they had to keep marijuana out of Gilroy. Well, good luck with that one.
Oh yeah, right. Like that was ever even a possibility. Ever.
It was just
Ever
incredible.
since 1835. You know?
And I'll say this, and I'm sorry, there's a couple of people out there that do follow me on Facebook. It's just like, not all laws are moral, and not all morals should be laws. And that's just kind of what I've got to say about that. And
Yeah.
I wanted to do all
Well,
I wanted to do all kinds of other shows on these subjects.
Yeah.
kind of like Pasta Sesta with the
yeah. Well, that's why we're
with
just
the
doing a
sex
speed
workers
dial
and
today. Maybe we'll get some comments. Speed dating. Speaking of which, I've always been curious how much money the networks and cable, networks make off of election ads.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they're getting paid so much bloody money for all these ads.
Don't even go
I
there.
think that
So
should be free.
I had just let me tell you my story. So I had just cut the cord on Dish. So, and I don't know what's going on with. I'm going to ask you here in a minute what's going on with you're on DirecTV, but I can tell you what's going on with Hulu. I can tell you what's going on with uh, uh, Pluto. And I can tell
And
you
all the
what's
rest.
and I can tell you what's going on with Philo, which are the three. One is free and the other two are paid. So Tom Steyer, the billionaire from California, Mr. Environmentalist.
Oh, you want to go down that path next?
We're going to go down this path right now. So
Right on.
Pluto is a free service. I don't know. I think they're owned by Viacom or something like that. They play a whole lot of old archived TV shows and stuff like that, and a bunch of movies and stuff. And you can get some live stuff going on there, but
Oh, stuff
mostly
that's in syndication.
that's mostly
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this syndicated
Yeah.
stuff that you can, Fear Factor and all those old shows and stuff like that. And every time they cut to a commercial, it's a Todd or a Steyer commercial.
No shit.
Every time.
I haven't
And
seen that.
he's
I've
got
seen plenty of his, but
he's
not
got
every.
2 or 3 commercials that just run on a loop. And let me tell you what, man, I don't give a damn about you, Todd. I'm not voting for you. Okay, I'm not gonna
Sorry,
vote
man.
for a billionaire, dude. I'm sorry, it's
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
Him and Bloomberg are both probably great guys, and Bloomberg has had some leadership experience as far as government goes.
Yeah.
Steyer's is a self-made man, so I'm sure that he's a type A and he's driven. But I got a message to both of them: take your money and use it to slander Trump. Period. Don't promote yourselves. Don't run for president. Just spend your money wisely, please.
President Trump hater.
No, because
I'm a Trump.
because listen, that mailing we got the other day,
Yeah.
that presidential or Republican Party census thing, and some of the ads I've seen, not necessarily by Trump or even his campaign,
Mhm.
but by Republican Party
Mhm.
PACs,
Mhm.
making me sick, man.
I think
It's worse than
it all makes
it's
me
worse
sick.
than freaking Germany in the 30s.
It all makes me sick because I get it from all three sides. So I get libertarian, I get Democratic, I get Republican stuff in the mail all the time. And believe me, if you send me something in the mail, I'm throwing it in the trash. If I hear you on TV, I'm most likely turning you off.
I get
I
nice
want
letters.
you.
I get nice letters from Melania all the time.
Melania sends me a lot of letters. Maybe there's something there. Come to my town, do a town hall, and come talk to me. Come talk to me. Because I had a rant on Facebook with again, I think it was Amy who was asking me, and I was kind of getting down on the impeachment thing and how it was supposed to be a somber moment for America when the House signed the articles of impeachment and Pelosi had the gold or silver pen ceremony and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah. How
While they're all
silly.
taking selfies and stuff,
How silly.
and I was so embarrassed for Zoe Lofgren, which is our congresswoman or our congresswoman there, but she held her class. She never once smiled. There's not one selfie of her posing with her pen, and she held it as a somber moment. I don't agree with the impeachment. I'm just going to say that right out loud. I think everybody knows that I don't agree with the impeachment. I have my facts and I have my data, and everything points to he didn't do anything wrong. However, no matter how you feel about it, the fact of the matter is that when I got into this debate, a respondent to my post had told me, "Well, would you say that to Zoe if she held a town hall meeting here in Gilroy?" And I said, "No, absolutely not. Not because I don't believe that a president shouldn't be impeached. Is that it's not the number one thing priority on my fucking list of things that should be a priority on my list. Number one, I want to know why, what's going on. What was the last thing that Zoe did for her constituents here? I want to know what's going on with her constituents. What is she doing for me? Her 600,000 people that she represents in Washington, and how she feels about making policy for 360 million people. That's what concerns me about government, not about whether they're going to impeach Trump or whether he gets reelected or what happens with something that happens in Iowa or something that happens in Texas. I don't give a shit about that. I live here in California, and my congressmen and my senators need to work for the people of California, not for the nation as a whole. Now, we can talk about the nation as a whole as far as in the Congress and the Senate chambers and stuff like that. But I mean, those things are important. We work for we put them in the position that they are so they can represent us as a people of California. I have different views than you have. You have different views than Tracy. Tracy has different views from Abby. Everybody's got these different views. Well, the majority wins in California. I mean, that's the way things are in every state. The majority wins. That's how it's set up. It's a democracy. The presidential elections and stuff like that, that's representative. It's an electoral process. But let's bring it back down to real stuff here. It's a democracy here in the states and here in the cities. And I want my voice heard. I want to know why it's so hard for Zoe and she crosses the aisle a lot, but I want to know why that they scratch each other's backs and turn the other cheek and ignore certain things.
It's the only way to get things done.
It's not the only way to
Yes,
get
it
things.
is.
It is not because you. What
Yes,
you
it
do
is.
is you is that
No,
you
no, no.
get because you get those
No.
fucking dirty bastards out of the House and the Senate.
It's the rules.
It's not the fucking
It is
rules.
too.
I'm sorry, it's not the rules.
Why do you think that
'Cause your
there's
business
problems?
doesn't
Why do
work.
you think nothing gets done? It's because you get this perfect bill that's perfect for everybody. Everybody loves it. And then some prune prick comes along and says, I'm not going to sign it unless you add this thing about killing frogs on the bottom of it.
Then you don't vote. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
No,
Get
no.
the fuck out.
Our
Why doesn't-
system makes
why-
the whole thing stop
Why?
right there.
Why-
If you don't understand that, it's not my fault,
Why
but that's how
doesn't-
it works.
Why doesn't these fucking ridiculous things, bills that they come with, that they come up that that are unconstitutional. How do they even ever get to the fucking floor?
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
want to know.
Exactly.
And there shouldn't even be on the floor. And then a military,
Right, but when a good
and a
one
milita-
comes, some prune prick comes and fucks it up.
and then he should be automatically disqualified from fucking
Wouldn't
even
that
doing
be
anything.
nice? But that's not how it works.
But it should work that way.
Who
And
gets
that's
to decide that?
yeah. Well, we should be able
Right?
to get to
Do
decide
the
that.
people who want what he's putting on the end that's
The-
gonna ruin the bill, should we fuck them?
But
Forget
I can
them?
tell you, I can tell
right?
you what happens on that is that every representative should bring their own bill when their own bill is up. I mean, and that's the way things should
Yeah,
work, and
yeah.
it doesn't work because if it
Because they're scumbags.
yeah, because if X bill has something to do with farms and stuff like that, I don't want somebody else's freaking little pork fucking thing coming in
Right.
because they want to bomb fucking Libya or something
or they
like
need
that.
they need a
Or they
harbor
need
dredge somewhere.
or they need a
whatever.
harbor dredge
Yeah.
somewhere. This
Whatever.
should have nothing to do with it at
Right,
all. It
right.
should, the bill is the bill, and that's all the
Right.
bill should be. So where do we start and get that stuff done? And those are the questions
Yeah, and
that
that's
I
a
want.
problem.
And those are the questions I want to talk to Zoe about, not
Yeah.
about why we're.
and she'll tell you the same thing I just said.
And I would
except
say,
a little nicer.
and then I would say, I'm sorry, Zoe, I'm not voting for you next time.
She'll say, fine, don't
And that's
worry. It'll be
fine.
the same for the next person. And it'll be the same for the next person until you grow up.
No, it's not a grow up thing, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
sorry, it is not a grow up
Yeah,
thing.
It's the way it works.
This world could work the way that it should
Yeah.
work.
It should.
Yeah.
It should.
Yeah.
But what
then we got to
happens
get the
is
money out of politics. Dad.
yeah,
Get the money out of politics.
exactly, and get professional politicians out of there.
Exactly. Get those.
There should be term limits, man. These freaking guys
No,
should
there
not
is
make
term
a
limits
lifetime.
already. There is term limits already. It's called voting. Term limits is called
No.
voting.
No, once these guys get entrenched, it's hard to get them out.
How?
Nobody ever can run against them. They don't get any money. They don't get any support from the party. They don't get any donations. They don't get any voters. How are they going to get rid of them? How are you going to get rid of somebody like, Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell.
Or the old farts that were,
People should
30
be-
years,
people
35 years in the
People
frickin'
should
Senate.
be smart enough in that district, in his district, to
Yeah.
say we're tired of this shit. Let's put
But
somebody
they're
else.
not. That's why we need rules to help the stupid.
I'm beginning sometimes to see
I-
your point.
I
Believe
mean,
me.
I mean, how about just for a change? Hell.
I believe me.
But if the party doesn't run somebody else, what are you going to do?
There are so many times that I agree with you on that. Is that there's something to be said to take the stupid pills away from people. There really is, and those are kind.
Well,
and
is
believe
it
me,
stupid or is it lazy? Or is it no choice? Right? What if
oh fuck, we had no
right,
choice. We
you're-
had no
you're-
choice.
you-
If you want to go back to no choice, we had no choice in 2016. So I
Yeah.
mean, let's get down to brass tacks.
no choice in what?
No choice in the president of the United States because they ran the two worst people that they could ever fucking run.
Yeah.
Why?
And one of them cheated.
And why? That's debatable.
Well, no, I wouldn't say cheated. One of them used new and untested tactics, and they
Aha.
worked. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, we'll leave it at that, so we don't have to hit each other later.
Oh, what a great show. We're going to take a break and then we're going to come back and we're going to wrap this show up. And we got to do a little break here for Anchor FM, or they're
Wow.
not going to let me. They're not going to let me post this one.
No, well, I appreciate Anchor.
I appreciate Anchor
They're a
too.
platform out there for people like us, and we need a platform.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. We love you guys.
Okay, so that was fun. That was that part. Now we gotta take a different.
Take a swig. I can't get rid of this freaking cough, man. This damn cough. I'm tired of cough drops and Sudafed.
Yeah, I thought you would be. I actually thought you. When I came over, I was like, "He's like, I want to see that." Okay, we did media in the election.
Let's do some local stuff. Pull out some local stuff. I don't have any local stuff. Yeah, you do. You got a whole newspaper there. All right, back on the Weathered Soul podcast. You've got Bruce and Doug for the last show that we're ever going to do as the Weathered Soul podcast. But don't worry, we will be back. One of these days, we'll be back. And just for you guys that are tuning in late, I gave this show 50 shows when I started this back in November of 2018, and the numbers aren't just where they're supposed to be. And I love you guys all. Believe me, I loved all my guests. I loved all my co-hosts. Doug has been with me for longer now than I can remember, and he will be back with me when we revamp another show. But we got to make a studio. We have to have different things going on. Uh, it's nice to have this little backdrop here that I've got, but it would be nice to have a production engineer that has his eyes on us and his eyes on another monitor while he's switching in and out graphics and videos and stuff like that, because we really want to give you a quality show to watch and a quality podcast to listen to. And so we're going to cut this at 50, and then we're going to be back someday this year, I'm pretty sure. But it's going to be a little while before you hear from us again. But yeah, uh, we want to thank everybody that's ever listened to our podcast, which we were up to about 360, 370 people that were listening to us on a weekly basis. And unfortunately, after my son Anthony passed away, we missed a bunch of shows, and we just haven't been able to grab the public interest in the following that we had before. And I think it's just a good time to kind of not cut our losses so much as to just take a step back in the show on a good note, and then look forward to what we're going to do next. And we just don't know what that is. Whether we're going to be talking the same way that we're talking now, or whether we're going to stay local. What kind of marketing are we going to have? What kind of things are we going to do? Plenty of I got plenty of support on the professional side as far as forums and programs that I listen to, that I'm in, that I actually participate in. And one of them will be tomorrow. I'll be into a seminar tomorrow for about 4 hours tomorrow night with Jason Stapleton, and I'll be listening to him on some motivational stuff that's gonna push me forward into things that I do. I definitely want to go into some kind of marketing for my brand, the Weathered Soul. So the Weathered Soul is definitely a trademark, and it's definitely going to have some kind of a product behind it. It was always going to be that way, whether it was going to be the band, whether it was going to be some type of item or something that was going to be marketed. It was always going to be made for that. First Note Productions, the company that it runs over, it has always been in the sound, audio, video realm of production, and that'll always be that too. So First Note Productions will always be in the realm of offering you guys podcasts and your audio needs. I would be more than happy to take any podcaster in that wants to do some shows once we get a studio together, and maybe we'll even produce more shows with some more different personalities that want to come in and do their own podcast. So that's kind of where the company is going. Like I said, the Weathered Soul podcast is going to end tonight, and I don't know how you feel about that. You just learned about it
Yeah.
actually, within the last day or two.
Well, I understand. I mean, if the you know distribution is getting low, then the 1 to 5 people that listen to us will understand,
Yeah.
and they'll also come back when we start again.
Yeah, well, if you love you, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I love what I do. However, once it comes down to a situation where you're not getting the distribution you need and reaching the people that you want to reach to, then it becomes a work. And then I didn't want this to become work. I wanted to be able to end the podcast and keep producing it as I went on, and have the show post, within an hour after we were done. And it just hasn't been getting that way, only because of the fact of the numbers that we've been getting. And there's no drive for that. I'd asked our audience for comments. We did get some comments. No, don't get me wrong, we did have some comments, and that was good. I loved comments, but we didn't get any ratings. And from day one, from the first show,
Well,
I
listen, at
was
least we
looking.
didn't get any low ratings.
We didn't get any low ratings, so yeah,
We
we
didn't get any 1 stars.
we did not get any one
We
stars.
got
That's for
no
sure.
stars.
But like I said, all good things have to come to an end, and this is one of them that has to come to an end. And it's going to be a much when we come back, it's going to be a much better show. It's going to be much more polished, and you won't get these pops and all that stuff that you're going to hear all the time that I always have to edit out because you don't hear those. And I think we're just going to be more not regimented so much as I want to have our content on point, and I want to be
Yeah.
able to
A little more
switch
professional.
a little bit more professional, a
Yeah.
little bit more
Yeah.
segue, a little bit more showy, and maybe some more interviews and some guests that come in, maybe some music. I've always
Yeah.
kind of wanted to have that kind of show, and it's just never morphed into it, or I kind of veered away from it.
There's something homey kind of about the I don't know what I'm gonna say, unscripted and unprofessional type of thing. Sometimes when you get some DJs, some of the smaller radio stations, and a song ends and there's like 10 seconds of silence, and then you hear somebody go, "Oh."
I've
Oh,
never wanted
yeah,
that.
yeah, or you're listening to it on the radio, and when the DJ's talking, it's like your VU meters are pegging out because he's like screaming into the microphone with
Right.
cranked up, sound quality stuff and all that would be nice. You know, that's got a little kind of homey and grassroots type of feel to it, but professional is better.
Yes, it would be nice to have somebody on the other side looking at us going like, "Quit fucking doing that."
Yeah, yeah. Or
Screaming into our
yeah,
ears as we're talking
yeah.
to you, going like, "You're talking too loud or you're talking too slow."
Right, monitoring
And
stuff,
monitoring and
maybe
stuff.
make a few adjustments, whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And that's what goes along with as you mature as a show, as you get more content, as you get more polished and stuff like that. And I just believe at this point in time, the Weathered Soul podcast had its niche. It had its sound, and I don't want to produce that sound anymore. I want a better sound. And the Weathered Soul podcast has to end tonight, so we can go on and give you a better and bigger show for the next time that we guys meet again.
Right, it's too much of a radical change to just kind of like implement it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's where we're going. So we got some more little tidbit topics that we want to talk about, and
Oh boy, oh boy.
Dougie came in with his book today.
Yeah. Book of my cobwebs. Hey, I'd like to discuss my plan for the Democrats.
Oh my gosh, here we go. We're gonna go back into politics one more time for politics.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
Well, actually,
know-
why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Abby had a question.
yeah.
So I want you to answer. I want you to do it exactly how we did it before
Okay.
we went on the air tonight. So
Yeah.
Abby had a question.
Yeah, she asked me why all the Republicans are standing behind Trump so wholeheartedly,
And I'm gonna
regardless of anything. It doesn't matter whether it's the, grab him by the pussy or the, we grew up in Connecticut, close to New York, where Trump is a businessman our whole lives, and we've always heard, like in the local papers and stuff that never made the national paper, what a scumbag he is. I mean, the way he is, what everything we're hearing about in the media right now about him and
Is-
how he does business
is
is
not new to you.
absolutely true.
is not new to you.
Yeah, that's the way he does it.
Yeah.
Whether it's acceptable or not is the question.
Yep. So I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna hold my tongue because I held my tongue the first time. But anyway, that's a joke.
He's turning blue. I was reading as fast as I could.
And I'm going to let Dougie have the floor because I think that Dougie's insights are important. I think they're spot on, even though, I have different opinions about it, but I think that they're spot on and I think they're heartfelt. And I think that Abby deserves an answer.
Yeah.
And I also believe that I want to hear about your Democrat plan.
Yeah. Okay.
You have the floor, brother.
Right on. All right. So I was asked, this question, and it got me thinking. So I wrote a little essay, and I titled it at the beginning, "People Wonder Why the GOP Backs Trump." But after I finished it, I renamed it "A Slow Moving, Constitutionally Legal Coup." And I'm sorry if this offends any of my Republican friends. I am a Republican, and I do have conservative attitudes. I'm a very conservative person. I'm more conservative in everything that I do and say. But at any rate, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a damn Yankee, man. I save everything. Look at my garage, for God's sake. Okay, all right. So in order to take and maintain control of a government, one party needs to have one thing in focus. That is to have control of all three branches of the government. Uh, you've got to. Sorry, I'm trying to read this while I'm going to turn my microphone to the side here. All right, this is the kind of professional stuff we're talking about. All right, um, you've got to focus on wins, not just big wins, but many, many small wins everywhere, every time. You got to take over the state senates. You got to take over the governorships. You got to take all the judges, local governments. You've got to use whatever means necessary to gain the majority rule in all of these places. Um, you got to focus on groups with a semi-radical, viewpoint. I don't know if semi-radical is best described, but maybe a fervent, a very very intense opinion about a certain viewpoint, and then you court that subject. Okay, you find the people, and then you court that subject, and you give the groups the support that they need, or or what they want, right? Whether that be it's kind of like a subset of society, but you focus on what they want, and you focus on what they want, and the next one wants, and you focus what all these little groups want, and with that you're building a majority, even if your subject is one thing. Okay, and to prove my point, that census that we got, you see the questions, they were like, are you happy that President Trump bashes on immigrants, saves babies, lets you have your gun, and hates Democrats? It's like, what are you going to answer? Yes, no, and maybe are your choices.
Right,
So if
right.
you answer yes, that means you love all those things, right? And if you don't like any of them,
Was there even a no?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't even think the
yeah.
reason even no. It was all yes.
At any rate, so by giving the subsets of society what they want, you can gain their favor. All right, and it doesn't matter if the majority wants it or not. It doesn't matter if the majority of all these groups want it. If the individual groups do, you have enough people for each little piece of this. Anyway, so you give the people what they want. You get them on your side. Um, you use the resources of this group to forward their agendas, whatever it is. I'm talking about stuff like birth control and gay rights and guns and pollution and tax rebates and all that sort of stuff, tax breaks. um and that's how you basically get control of the government. Then you know you, while you're doing this, you have to always keep in mind, never give up regardless of who or what is in office. It doesn't matter if you lose a few, it's okay, you get it back, whatever, right? You just keep down the same path. Don't stray. um, you never give in. You never accept blame for anything. Use any means to slander or paint the opposition poorly, regardless of the facts. Once in power, you change laws and regulations to your advantage. Um, if not, at least put obstacles in the opposition's way so that they can't gain control again. Whether it's voter suppression, gerrymandering, whatever. You hold public rallies, and you use fear and hate. You promote the fear and hate of these subsets to keep them enlisted, to keep them active. um, Use slogans, catchphrases, use the media, everything you can to propagate the message. um, usually it's something like what we're hearing now is like, they hate you and want to destroy your way of life and your country. And the they is basically anyone that's other than you, right? So the they is the group that you're focusing on to rally everybody else around. And this is, I mean, you can see this kind of stuff, I'm not just saying what's happening today.
Hmm.
I'm saying from things that happened in the past. And when I'm writing this, I'm thinking about, both like the Russian Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, where basically, they went to a communist type situation, very, very powerful government, very small rights for people, or even Germany. You could even say this is the way our own revolution kind of got rolling,
Hmm.
right? You know, tax thing, throw the tea in the harbor, all that sort of stuff. Then you've got to assign yourself a cabinet that'll do anything you want, right? So that you can uh, change regulations and laws to make things easier on you, and to also make things easier on the people who are paying for you, the people who pay you, right?
Not the taxpayer.
No, not the taxpayer, the corporations, and seriously, you start taking away workers' rights, and workers' safety and health issues start coming up. I mean, years and years ago, who cared? If you fell into this guy's buried in Hoover Dam. It's like, oops, right? Now it'd be a major problem, wouldn't it?
It would be. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think they would use ropes and stuff to keep people from falling in. That's what I'm
Yeah, they
trying to
might give you
say.
a rope now.
Yeah.
You got a long way to go.
Maybe a net. Maybe a net. And then you cut off social services. The poor get segregated out. People who have jobs get just enough to get by. You can't really get ahead. These kinds of things. Look at what the Chinese people had to go through. Look at what the Russian people went through. I mean, it would suck to have to stand in line for like 3 hours to get a loaf of bread,
It would.
right? Instead of going to the grocery store and paying $3.95 for it.
Yeah, I'd rather pay $3.95 than having to sit in a line to do it. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, even if you got free housing from
Yeah.
the government, and everything else is all paid for, all you got to do is go to work and stand in line for your bread.
Doesn't sound like life to me.
Yeah, well, also it had a lot to do with where they're spending their money.
Yep.
Right. That's another thing too. The people had no say that the government was taking all of their bread money to buy bombs. Then if you get control, then you can take control of the military. You can take control of the National Guard. You've got all the governors. You got to remember, you've got all three branches of the government, so you can pass all sorts of laws. You can say that, no, guess what? The Secretary of Defense is now in charge of all the generals, and you're the president, so anything you say they got to do, right? And then you got your local law enforcement. You can incarcerate anybody who stands against you, right? And you're talking once again, all nasty stuff, all stuff that's happened in the past. So anyway, the conclusion of it all is basically the Republicans want to have control of our government. They want us to believe that would be good for us, right? That the Democrats are pieces of shit, according to Trump.
I think vice versa.
Only because he started it.
But I think vice versa. Oh no.
No, he is a piece of shit.
I won't disagree with that,
Yeah.
but I was just saying I think
No.
vice versa is true on the other foot. It's the same way. So
if there was a Democratic president in office that acted like Trump, I would hate his fucking ass too.
Sure. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sure. He's definitely not a politician.
Yeah.
Wasn't a politician.
No,
was
really.
never going to be a politician.
If the Democrats even put someone like George Jr. in office,
look,
I mean,
look, this
Billy Boy may have been a playboy,
Yeah.
but he's a hell of a statesman.
I'm going to say,
okay, Obama may have had no balls, but he was a hell of a statesman.
I'm going to tell you something that is true. President of the United States, the candidates that have ran in the last couple of years, except for Trump, to Trump's credit, he went where no Democrat would go. And that's the reason why he won.
He went where no civil human being would go.
He went where no Democrats went, because they thought that those were slam dunk districts and states for Democrats, and he proved them wrong.
Oh,
And what happened
uh-huh.
was is all those people decided, okay, we're sick of what's going on. And you know what? The pendulum swings as the pendulum do.
Yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah.
same thing is
Yeah.
gonna freaking happen when everybody gets sick of whatever's happening now. I mean,
You would
what
hope so, but aren't you afraid? Um, what would happen if, in the worst case scenario, your vote were nulled?
my vote gets nulled all the time.
Well, you do that to yourself, but
No, I don't.
sure,
No, I don't.
yeah, you do.
No.
Yeah, you vote for somebody who can't win, and you might as well throw your vote in the garbage.
and that's and that's why I love you. That's why I love you.
Um, no, no, your vote could get thrown in, but it doesn't now. I mean, your vote still counts.
Sure does.
All the local stuff,
I
and
live
that's all straight up and
I
fair.
live in an increasingly liberal state of California. I have nobody to vote for at all. None of anybody who has any interest in what I want it has ran. So I'm stuck for voting not for lesser of two evils, but who I think is the best for that particular job and who's running, whether it be Democrat, whether it be
I vote for the
Republican.
person who's most least likely to do crap I don't like.
Yeah, well,
Even if they're not going to do everything I like, I don't care. Just don't do crap that I don't like.
I think that happens all the way around, but it's just
No, no. A lot of people vote for the guy who's like, "Oh yeah, I like him because he gonna help the
yeah,
schools, and I like him because he's gonna." No,
yeah.
I want the guy.
Well, maybe we should have a
I
class
will
in voting.
choose by selecting the person who is not going to damage my freedoms,
Yeah.
who's not going to damage my future,
But your freedom is
or
somebody else's oppression.
the future of subsequent generations.
But your freedoms is somebody else's oppressions. So I mean,
No, they're not.
yeah, they are.
My
They
freedoms don't
absolutely are.
oppress anybody.
Huh?
Which one of my freedoms oppressing
I'm
you?
just saying, your freedoms, the way that you look at your freedoms are sometimes oppressive to other people's freedoms.
No, they're not.
Take the abortion issue. I mean, I don't want to get into the fucking
If
abortion
you want to have an
issue.
abortion, have one. I don't care.
That's what I say. Have one. But
I'm
what
not
I'm
stepping
saying
on
is
anybody's
some
rights.
people's but some people think that the right to have an abortion is an abominable thing, and that child who is unborn has a right to live.
Absolutely.
And I think that's true too. But you know what?
Yeah.
Here's the way I look at it. And this is the last thing I'm going to say about that. I don't have to answer for your decision
Right.
ever. I'm never going to have
For
to
that.
answer for it. And the ultra right, super religious people who are pro life, you can shun me and you can wave your finger in my face and tell me that I'm going to hell because I'm not the one who stood up and said something about it.
Not my
And
place.
because it's not my place.
Yeah.
The way you
The
want to
best I
treat
could
yourself.
do is to promise you I would never vote for a law that says you have to have an abortion.
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely.
best I can do
We're
for
there. We're there. See, so in a lot of ways, sometimes when we're bantering back and forth, you can tell that me and Doug disagree on some stuff, but really we agree on a lot of freedoms. And a lot of things that he says are true about certain parties. I don't think are true about certain parties. But also in that same breath, I think that corporations and agendas and other things have a lot to do with that. And
You know,
it's unfortunate that
mm,
has to be that way in government. And Doug has argued that fact that that's just the way that Washington works. But you know what? It's going to take people like you, me, and Doug to throw those bastards out of freaking Congress and out of the White House and out of the Supreme Court to start thinking about the way people should have their freedoms and the way that we should conduct ourselves as fucking human beings. All right? Because really, we're nothing but another
mm,
organism on this freaking planet. We have a conscience and we have a brain, but that doesn't
well,
make us any more smarter than a
yeah,
bee
we do
or
have
a dog.
we do have some small say in things like Um, people who have stock in companies and things like that do have a small say in what that company does, depending on how much stock you have, it's how loud your voice is. But that there are, I mean, honestly, right? We've talked about this. We've talked about money in politics. We've talked about corporate greed. We've talked about corporate influences on our politicians because of money or gifts or whatever. We've talked about all this stuff,
Mm.
and I think we both agree that it sucks.
I think we both agree that it
Yeah,
sucks,
yeah.
and I hope that you think it sucks, because the one thing that really sucks is that we're in our position that we're in today, and I've said this over and over again, and it's unpopular with some of my friends, but we have exactly what we deserve because we did this to us,
Yeah.
and that's where I'm going to go there.
Okay. Can I do my Dems now?
You can do your Dems now,
Oh,
and
this
then
this is just a counter of the last one. Let me see if I can find it. I lost my page. Um, there it is. All right. No, I just opened to a random page. I'm rambling this. I saw it on TV once. All right, so listen, I got planned for you Dems. Okay, write your Congress people and your senators. Let them know. All right, get get the Democrats, a lot of them, to register as Republicans. Okay, the only thing you're going to lose out in this state, you won't be able to vote in the primary, but not in every state. It's okay. You can deal with a few people who are going to vote in the primary, do the right thing. Hopefully, we'll get the right candidates. Okay, all right. So in all your districts, that will mess up any attempt at gerrymandering. They won't know what to do or where. Okay, really, screw them up. Okay, um, fo- focus every resource the DNC has to get rid of Graham and McConnell. I don't care what you have to do. Buy Tennessee if you have to. Okay, or is it Kentucky?
I could put in Pelosi and Schumer at the same time,
Well,
please
if
do
you
that.
want,
Thank
okay,
you.
yeah, all right. If
Thank
it
you.
make you feel better,
It
but
does.
you talk to your Republican buddies
It's
about.
okay if you're wrong.
You can replace Dems with Rebs here.
It's okay if you're wrong. Good.
This year, stop talking about each other. Tell me what you're going to do to get rid of Trump. Period. I don't care. Whichever one of you has the best plan to get rid of Trump is who I'm voting for. I don't care about your health care plan. I don't care how much you love flowers. I don't care about the friggin' fish in your state. Okay. I want you to get rid of Trump, period. If you can't tell me how you're going to do that, I'm going to have a hard time picking one of you. Now we got a census coming up, right? And we know how bad the census is because the government's trying to get into your house. All right? Promote it. Promote it in all the red states. Okay? Vaccines, census. Same thing. Government plots, bad for you. Get all of them, get none, as many as possible not to fill out the census. Okay? Then we'll redistrict for the house. See what happens. Okay, folks, give it a try. The best I can do for you.
And that's the best that Doug can do for you. Oh man, it's been a good ride, huh?
Right on, brother.
It's been a good ride. And I've got nothing more, man, because I'm just gonna get emotional if I go any farther a bit. And I just wanted to give Doug this last soapbox to stand on because he deserves it. And man, I'm gonna tell you,
I feel awake now.
he's gonna be awake for a while now. He's got his heart pumping now. And for the two viewers watching, I wanted to say hi, guys. I love your enthusiasm. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Everybody that listened to us, Michael Gaither, he's been one of our staunchest supporters, and I want to thank him for being on the show. Vic Parrish, my buddy from Texas, who was my very first guest on the show. Eddie Rock,
Yeah.
Big Ed Rock.
Whenever he could.
Whenever he could, he'd be here, and your buddy Tom Drake, Mr. Tom.
I like Tom.
And-
We have so much in common. No, we do.
and basically, the one that I want to thank most is my wife Tracy, who puts up with all my cockamamie schemes and all these things that let me do what I want to do in my studio and in this business. And man, it's just been a good ride. It's been 50 shows, and I'm gonna miss doing it. but we're gonna come back with a bigger and better show. It's not gonna be the Weather Soul podcast. It's gonna be something else, but believe me, we're gonna be back.
You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely, man. It's
Yeah.
been a good
I
run.
don't think we'll be able to compete with Monty Python, but
I got a feeling that we're gonna do something big. And whether we have to go crash a car into a cement building or something like that to, get ourselves on the map, I mean, that's what we're gonna have to do. We'll do something stupid like maybe push turkeys out the back of a helicopter.
and now for something entirely different.
Or maybe have a baby's arm holding an apple. Who knows, man? But it's been a good time, and I want to thank you guys all. And yeah,
So listen, anybody who might happen to hear this, or anybody that might download the YouTube in the future, if they want to comment on this, will they be able to?
absolutely. The archives will always be up on Anchor because I'm not going to close the show. I will be closing the show officially, but the show will still be on Anchor. All the archives will be on any of your podcatchers, so you can still go to iTunes. You can go to Stitcher. The Weather Soul podcast will always be there, and it's there for you guys to listen to forever because the internet is forever until they decide that we're not important enough to have evidence on for our next trial or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the other thing to control
Yeah,
the media.
the Minority
Yeah.
Report or something that they're going to
Yeah.
do on us. That because we thought that we might do something, but
Yeah. Well, you know what I say. Those video games are just send subliminal information into your brain.
That's what it's going to do
Whatever they
too.
want you to do or buy
They're
next.
training you to do something. But man, it's been a good run, man. Thanks a lot for being here, dude.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate it.
love it that you were my co-host for so long, and
You
we're
know me.
definitely this is definitely not the end. It's just a new beginning, man.
Give me 5 minutes. I'll talk about anything.
Good night, all.
Good night, folks. It's been fun.
It's been a great time. We'll see you later. Bye bye.